Breaking down Estacado sports. This is the Matador Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back into the high school fan zone on Monday night, March 10th. We're going to jump into the Matador fan zone. I'm now with, see how cool this sounds, second year Estacado coach Eric Ward. I know you haven't even been here a full year.
Yes, sir.
But I get to call you a second year because you got that first year out of the way in the rear view mirror. I told you when I texted you, one of the things I wanted to talk about was just you've had a chance to exhale and now kind of settle in. You know, you've probably got all the boxes unpacked at home, got stuff hung on the wall finally.
Yes, sir.
Well, you got 5 sons. I don't know if it stays up on the wall.
No, not at all.
But what's it like now to be here? Because we talked during the football season about how everything was just, you were in such a rush and got here late and had to adjust. Well, now you've had all that kind of, you've digested that. You get to kind of go into year 2 a little bit steadier footing for you.
It's still busy, you know. Just reflecting on year 1 in the off season, you want to do things a lot better. You know, you want to fine tune a lot of things, and you want to build on things you did well. And so the spring, outside of all the spring sports, it's still busy.
Oh yes, trust me, you're preaching to the choir on that. It's busy, and you mentioned reflecting. It was tough, but
ready
you got
for your next adventure. Let the luggage shop.
You guys had a chance. Let me put it this way: you started out slow, and your guys could have folded tents. And instead, you and your coaches convinced them, "No, we're gonna keep plugging along." You won your last 5 regular season games, won the outright district championship, won a by-district playoff game. Got beat in the second round. We're going to talk about who you got beat by. It's uncanny how many teams that Lubbock schools get to face, and then they go on and do things. But that was a pretty good way to get things turned around. How proud of you of what your guys did instead of waving that white flag?
I don't believe I can put words to it. I know our kids, they persevered through a lot, and they showed a lot of resiliency. But to see them stick together and bond and formulate competitive nature within themselves and go out there week in and week out and compete, I couldn't ask for a better situation than a group of kids.
And you had a group of kids that I say all of that could have happened, but knowing the group of guys you had, I would have been shocked had that happened, because those guys have been used to success for years. And the group you had coming back, I believe, were either 8th graders or 9th graders the year when Estacado went off to a 12-0 start before they got beat. So they tasted success. They weren't going to not have success. It's just your first year, so I always think it's weird for a first-year coach. You didn't have time to get that close to them. But watching you with your guys, you got really close to your senior class.
I believe our kids are relationship kids, just like any other kid in group in the high school at this age. I couldn't thank them enough for trusting me and trusting the process and sticking through the thin and the thick of it all. But, you know, just building that relationship with the seniors and also trickling down to the freshman group and the JV group, I think they realize that we're genuine coaches and have their best interests at heart, and that was the difference maker.
And we talked about the seniors, but you've got some cats coming back, too. We'll talk a little bit about them. You guys lost to Brock, which Brock has become a little bit of a thorn in the side for you and Liberty, because I think most I'm trying to think here now. Brock beat the Liberty girls in volleyball. You guys keep running into them. You got to figure out a way to knock those guys off.
Yeah, you know, credit to their coaches and their program, but you know, when you're competing, you want your kids to be at their best, and when things don't go your way, you want to just load up and kind of get back into the lab and kind of work, and so you can get back after it the next time. And so we lost to a quality opponent. Obviously, we weren't happy about it, but at the same time, we're striving to get better, 1% better each day.
Okay, as I mentioned, Brock went on to the 4A Division II state semifinals, so they kept it going for a while there. You guys lost to them, but they knew what they were doing. You had a lot of seniors that did a lot of good things, and one guy I want to talk to you about when we come back from this break is Bobby Ross, because watch that kid for 4 years in football. And I said this to him a dozen times the last couple of weeks. Bobby Ross, the football player, became a pretty dang good basketball player for a really good team.
Yes, sir.
That went to the state semifinals too. So it was cool to watch him evolve, and he's still got a decision to make here pretty quick. So I'm not going to ask you to break any news or anything, but we'll talk about where you think who you think's involved with him and stuff like that. So Bobby's one of them, but we're going to talk about some of your young guys coming back. Kid brother Cedric Ross is,
yes, sir.
If he's not the fastest kid in Lubbock, he's in a small group. So we'll come back and talk more Estacado football after the break on 100.7 The Score. I'm Randy Rosetta. This is the Matador Fan Zone.
Diving headfirst into Estacado athletics. You're listening to the Matador Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome back to the second segment of the Matador Fan Zone. I'm with Estacado football coach, and I'm going to throw in there campus coordinator because I saw you at a bunch of stuff.
Well, I appreciate
at Estacado, and that's important. And I know you are a guy who has been around kids. In Wichita Falls, you were big with the youth football program. You know that younger kids seeing Eric Ward, the football coach, or the assistant coaches at their games as youth, as when they're young, and then when they're sub-varsity, that's a big deal to kids.
Absolutely. And I know when I was a kid myself, just seeing the high school coaches at our events, it meant the world to me. So I have kids that are ranging from 4 years old all the way up to 14, and so it just helps out that most of my kids go to school with the kids that are in my feeder pattern, and so it just makes it easier for me to get down there and watch from the elementary level all the way up to the middle school to high school level. But I support all the programs, and I think that's what it takes to build a good school culture in our sports, and I just appreciate from the boys to the girls, the coaches that we have doing a great job and a phenomenal job with our kids.
Coach Roy from Coronado, he even jumped in and coached the JV baseball team the other day. So if they call you up and say, "Hey, Coach, we need you to jump in and coach a JV soccer match," you ready? You got your whistle?
I got it on always.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
BJ Mann actually did that once. He actually coached a varsity soccer game, and he was proud. I think they got beat 10-0, but I won't. I don't know if he counts that on his record.
It's all about the kids.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
I mentioned Bobby Ross, and we're not going to get into school specific, but I think I told you I met Bobby when he had just turned 15. That kid's been built like a man since then.
Wow.
And he's not gotten any smaller.
Yeah.
He's not gotten any slower. He's just blossomed every year a little bit more, and he was great again this year. He's a Division I kid. You were a Division I athlete yourself. Bobby's a Division I kid. It's just a matter of, in the recruiting scheme we're in now, of finding the right place for him.
Right, absolutely. Definitely a great human.
Yes.
Great talent, phenomenal athlete, and he's just taking his time to see where he fits best, and that's okay. And he's gonna find the right fit for him, and I'm gonna high five him and wish him well.
I would throw in there he's also a great teammate in both football and basketball, because in football, I think he's the only guy on HubCityPreps.com that was a defensive player of the week 1 week. And I don't know if it was the very next week, but was the offensive player of the week not much longer. That doesn't happen. That might happen with a smaller school, but you guys were not a small school, so I thought that was cool.
Right. We have competitive kids that love the sport, and you can ask for a better situation to coach kids that love the game.
Who are some of those kids now that you've gotten to know a little bit better that are going to be back, that you're going to see all spring and on the track, on the baseball diamond, that you're eager to get back in August and get to work with them?
We have a few of them. We have Rashandrick, Big V,
who dressed out in basketball.
Yeah, they play multiple sports, which I love. Yep. You want to see your linemen out there moving around and playing a sport like basketball, getting in shape and keeping it going. You have Cedric Ross, who's phenomenal. Donovan Torres, who's the Lionheart of the team. J.D. Bozeman, and with a host of others. And so just
those three are 4x200.
Yes, sir. 4x1. They're trying to break the record, and they're trying to get back to state. And I have every belief in their ability that they'll accomplish that.
Now you rattled off some names there. It's fair to say that quarterback was a little bit of a revolving door at times last year. You're an offensive-minded guy. How key is that for you? I'm sure you're the father of 5. You probably don't sleep that many hours a night anyway, but how often at night are you thinking about, we have to have a guy that we give the ball to next fall and say, go run the show for us?
Yeah, we have a guy, Darian Walker. He was our quarterback this year. I kind of got thrown in the fire, but
yes.
I think year 2 would be a lot more confident in what he's doing. You know, he's been working countless hours, getting better, watching film study, and doing the little things. And so I can ask for a better quarterback to be in this situation right now moving forward.
He was a sophomore last year?
He was a sophomore.
And I just mentioned this to one of these Coronado softball girls. When you're a freshman or when you're middle school, especially when you're a freshman, a coach is not saying, hey, sit down and look at film and tell me what you need to do. That's something that you talk about get thrown in the fire. That's a whole different world for a high school varsity football player when you have to start doing that.
Yes, sir. And, you know, I asked a lot of them, but I also told them that, hey, I just need you to trust the process. You're going to be okay. And he said, yes, sir, and he got in there and he did everything we asked him to do.
I imagine you and him have a connection then, because the way you described what he had to do is very similar to you getting hired in mid-June and saying, go coach that football team.
Yes, sir. And I didn't meet all my football players until the first day of school.
Right, and I probably a few even straggled in after that. So
yes, sir.
The movie We Are Marshall, when Matthew McConaughey's character took over, he had to have their names on the front of the helmets. That's what I was thinking of you last fall. Is he may not know all the names, and that's it takes some time. I bet you know them now, though.
Yes, sir. I absolutely do.
You even see him in the hallway and you can recognize him.
Yes, sir, and we're doing great in the halls. And what I mean by that, we have a strong presence as coaches, and our athletes are always in class learning because I teach them the most important thing is getting your education.
I'm going to make one of your fellow Wichita Falls guys cringe here. Part of that's because you got the legendary Tony Wagner in that building, and I imagine, I've told him before, Lewis Kelly passed the baton to him, because I imagine when you and Wag step out in the halls that all of a sudden kids hold up their shoulders and they're wanting to be a little bit different.
Absolutely. You know, we oftentimes cross paths in the hallway, and so that's a good sign that our kids are doing the right thing and our coaches are doing the right thing and holding our kids accountable, because education is what's going to carry them in life.
I mentioned Wag there. I know you get to be close to him because you coach with him, but just real quick, the impact his family's had in your life. I'm not sure we ever talked about that.
Man, Coach Wag's dad actually taught me how to play football. He was my first coach through Little League, and he was my only coach in Little League. And so he taught me how to be a young man at an early age and taught me the accountability process of being a football player. And so I can't thank him enough. You know, I think he had passed away last year. But at the same time, he would even come to my own son's game and watch my own sons play. And so that's the type of guy he was. That's the type of guy Coach Wagner is. Yep. And that's the type of coach that I strive to be.
There you go. Pass that baton. Keep passing that torch. That's how legacies are built. That's going to wrap us up on the Matador Fan Zone. We'll come back on 100.7 The Score in the Westerner Fan Zone. I'm Randy Rosetta, and that's Eric Ward, Estacado football coach.